for the DynCorp harvest. It's going to be a lot more about organ harvesting than I thought at first. It's almost like a separate little corporation to get organs and cord blood and all sorts of fun parties and genetic engineering even for the military, for the General Granges of the world, and the David Petraeuses of the world, and Pug Winnikers of the world, the elite, the power elite. That's what I started this whole series talking about, is the power elite. And these are just means. The stingers and the sarin gas and the gangs and Muslim Brotherhood is just a means at eternal life. It's looking like that's the way this is going to shake out. I know that sounds very broad and sweeping, but I will put it together. Here are the Knights of Malta, and when the Clinton Foundation closed down the CGI initiative, which really is just going to be reformed through the Rockefeller Foundation and the Google Foundation, I posed the question, did they go to Malta? The reason is Malta can issue diplomatic passports, so you can go kind of right through the security line. And here's the 110 different countries that Malta has diplomatic missions in, and one of them being Canada, where Frank Giustra is from. The old history of Malta, if you're Jewish, you probably know this, but the Maltese falcon was a bird, that you could put in the window of an art shop, or you could put it into a hospital or a church or so forth, and then you knew that that person would accept money for you to get out of Germany or Poland or any of the other communist-controlled countries as they started invading other countries. They did a better version of it in Casablanca, but the same thing. It was to let everybody know that there's letters of transit that you can get through Casablanca. If you could pay they even go through a negotiation here, $5,000, $25,000, $10,000. So I think it was actually $10,000 to get out of Europe. But the reason I mention it is the Knights of the Grand Master of Malta resigned today, and the Pope here is saying he's going to take control of this order. This is a lay order. It's not actually part of the Catholic Church. It's always been the military wing of the Vatican, though. This goes all the way back to when these guys were assassins. Basically, the Knights of Malta they call them Knights of Justice. They were assassins, and the popes were killing each other and so forth. So it's always had that kind of tradition that it's been kind of aspiring for a long time. And in recent times, since the War of 1812, it's been a way of secreting out rich people that get in trouble with the law. So it's had this tradition and history of being a rat line for trafficking for a long time. And so when the CIA goes to find a network, the CIA doesn't go to the church to pray. CIA does not go to church to pray. They go because they want letters of introduction, letters of transit, etc., in all these different places. You're going to find that FBI dominates in the U.S., so that CIA is going to insert itself into Canada. So all your MK Ultra experiments are going to be done in Quebec, and CSIS is a very strong partner of the CIA. So the other breaking news is the sixth issue of emails came out last night, and there was 3 missing 302s that I found. It was about 178 pages, something like that. I went through every one of them. I found some of the 302s. This list here is the 19. These are the 19 proposed solutions for the people who use Gmail, the conspirators. These are the proposed list. Most of them are right, but there's a couple I'm not sure about. But they interviewed Jake Sullivan in March 2016 last year on the 11th. They interviewed Morrell on the 25th. He's kind of the stand-in for Petraeus. I think one of these missing 302s is Petraeus. Then they interviewed Mills on April 9th, 16. So I think those other 2 are going to be Jack Lew and Dennis McDonough. These are kind of the fixers. He was the one blocking the calls from Christopher Stevens, Jack Lew was, and Dennis McDonough was the National Security Advisor. Jack Lew was Chief of Staff. So these calls are coming back from Chris Stevens, and then these are the 2 guys that blocked the 600 calls that week. So the other thing is Nancy Shepper Hughes here is an anthropologist from Berkeley, and she actually she's been involved in breaking organ harvesting networks for a long time. She started the organization called Organ Watch, There was a famous 2009 case called the Rosenbaum case, FBI and Israel organ trafficking. You're going to find that with folks like this, they give just enough information to make it look like it's not a part of a big network. But I think, I present information that shows over and over and over wherever the military goes, and NATO in Europe, or wherever CENTCOM goes, that's the U.S. in the Middle East, you have this illicit trade. So Haiti's been, the most frequent victim of it. I had an interesting KC, a guy named KC, said, hey, this hospital ship you're talking about, well, I think that's the next slide. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that I think that the CENTCOM is going to be behind all these UAE transplants and all these UAE doctors coming back and forth. Like the doctors are coming into Disneyland, they're getting training there, they're going down to Haiti, getting trained at Paul Farmer's teaching hospital. But Port Canaveral is going to be managed by UAE, and so the UAE is going to be the area for patients to come in. They're going to go to Disneyland first, and they're going to come down on the. So you need a cover. You need a cover when you come to get an organ transplant. But they're trying to move that business to UAE. This is UAE here with Abu Dhabi and Dubai. It just happens one of the interns that was stopped on Trump's ban. Travel restrictions or extreme vetting was a UAE doctor who's suing Trump now. So just kind of interesting development there. So the Shepper, Nancy Shepper Hughes wrote this book called Commodifying Bodies in 2009, where she talked all about this and talked about how the improvement in transplantation technology was making war a more profitable business. Basically, I mean, that's, if you want to sum it up, just talking about all the improvements are actually making these kind of folks more victimizable. And that's exactly what happened. Look at what happened after 2009, So I'm going to go ahead and say that the hospital ships in general are going to be used for private operations for the elite, for the power elite, not just generals, but also Wall Street folks and so forth, and senators, getting people this ability to get out here on these operating theaters. I'm also going to say the VA hospital through the OHS contracts is going to be responsible for the logistics of scheduling. I'm going to say the VA also, the VA scheduling problems are because they're prioritizing the elite on these ships. So as far as vaccines go, I'm not going to talk too much about vaccines, but there's another Swiss guy named I think it's Syntec is the name of the company, who got off, and he's going to give $100 million. He does a lot of vaccine testing here as well. You'll also know notice there's a diplomatic mission from the Knights of Malta here, so I think there's going to be a connection there to Médecins Sans Frontières. I won't talk, I'm going to leave this alone for today, but I'm going to just say that I think this whole digital cell phone thing is all about organ harvesting. It's all about organ harvesting, and I think you're going to find women here at this industrial park that also, they're rotating people in this industrial park all the time. They're getting them involved in these loans, and they're all becoming donors. They're all becoming kidney donors. I think this is going to be your kidney donation center up here. Okay, so I think it started out with kidneys, but now it's moved into all the organs that you have to give by going away. I won't talk too much about political officers setting up these underground railroads, other than to say that that's one way of gaining. Once you get the military taken care of and the intelligence community taken care of, these people that are in this contracting network, our people kind of, then you can start reaching out to other governments to gain control and just say, hey, we have this plan kind of for not eternal life, but life extension, increase your. And it's not all done, by the foreign officer, but that's one more thing. What you want to do with a foreign officer is give him more bargaining chips that he can use. And if he can use his own people in his own country to provide organs for the elite, then that is that's a key brokering leverage, I guess is the easiest way to say it. I'm more sure than ever that USAID is the thing it's the service setting up the service for these kids, for the vaccination, as well as migrating people to areas where they can be harvested, to remote areas where they can be harvested. So And this, I think, is just this whole us think, the military-industrial complex, you want to call it that, or if you want to call it, our people, the CIA or whatever. We're going to create this little way station or retreat in case everything goes wrong. That's what they're always thinking about, is like, okay, we're going to have this plan for kind of longer life, 5-6 heart transplants and all those things, cord blood, stem cells, all that. But we're also going to have, plans to take it from somebody else to provide that at no charge to us, to kind of co-opt. This co-opting idea that constantly runs through the CIA. And I'm going to leave it there today. I'm going to go meet somebody, and then we'll come back later this afternoon.